What if I told you that the battles you've fought, those invisible wars inside your heart, were never signs of weakness, but proof that you were born for the fight? That the scars they left on your soul aren't signs you lost, but sacred reminders that you survived. I remember a night when I sat on my bathroom floor, back pressed against the cold, tiled wall, legs pulled tight to my chest. The house was silent, but inside my mind, it was anything but. My heart raced, as that relentless voice inside me whispered the same cruel words it had whispered so many times before. You're not enough. You're too much. You're failing at everything. The tears came hot and fast, not because of something someone said or something someone did, but because of the war I was fighting against myself. You see, that's the first battle, and it's the one no one really talks about. We're taught to look for enemies outside of us. But the truth is, the hardest, most brutal battle we will ever face is the one against our own thoughts, our own shame, our own fear of not being good enough. It's the fight that starts when we look in the mirror and the reflection staring back doesn't feel worthy. It's the moment we doubt our own voice, our own decisions, our own right to take up space in this world. And here's the painful part. We don't start this war on our own. The world hands us the weapons. Every moment someone made us feel invisible, every time someone told us to be quieter, smaller, easier to love, every look of disapproval, every unkind word, every expectation that said this is what a good woman should be, all of that gets planted inside us, and over time, we start turning those weapons against ourselves. Psychologists call it the inner critic, that internal voice that tries to protect us from shame by keeping us small, by keeping us hidden. It tells us don't try because you'll fail. Don't speak up because you'll sound foolish. Don't hope because disappointment hurts too much. And we listen because we think it's safer that way. But here's what I've learned, lying on that bathroom floor, fighting that invisible war. That voice will never protect you. It will only rob you. It will rob you of joy. It will rob you of connection. It will rob you of the chance to live a life that feels real and whole and true. And the only way out, the only way to win that battle, is not by silencing the voice, but by seeing it for what it is, a scared part of you that just wants to keep you safe. A part that learned, somewhere along the way, that the world can be cruel, so maybe it's better to stay small, but small doesn't protect you. It only makes you disappear. So the real act of courage, it's standing up every day and saying, I see you, I hear you, but I choose something different today. I choose to believe I am enough, even when it feels impossible. The fiercest war a woman will ever fight is the one where she must face herself in the mirror, look into her own eyes, and choose to believe she is worthy of love, of joy, of peace, even when every lie in her head tells her she's not. That is the first battle, and it is the one that makes all the others possible. There was a woman I once trusted with my whole heart. You know the kind, the one you believe will be in your corner no matter what, the one who knows your stories, your secrets, your softest places. I shared with her the parts of myself I usually keep hidden, the doubts, the fears, the moments when I felt like I was falling apart. I believed I was safe. I believed she saw me and loved me anyway. But one day I discovered she had taken those tender pieces of me and handed them to others like gossip, like currency. She turned my vulnerability into her ammunition. And it shattered something inside me, not just the friendship, but my trust in my own ability to judge who is safe. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just break the bond between you and another person. It fractures your sense of self. It makes you question, how did I not see it? What does this say about me? Was I stupid to trust, weak to believe? And that shame, oh, that shame is heavy. We don't talk enough about this kind of war, the war that rages inside a woman who has loved deeply and been hurt for it. We glorify resilience, but we rarely tell the truth about the cost of betrayal. The sleepless nights, the replaying of conversations, the endless self-interrogation. Psychologists call it betrayal trauma. And it cuts deep because it violates our most basic human need, connection. We are wired for belonging. We are built to bond. When someone we let into our inner world uses that access to harm us, it feels like a part of us has been stolen. And in a way it has, the innocent part of us that believed love was safe. But I want to say this to you, from one woman of war to another, being betrayed does not mean you were foolish. It does not mean you were naive. It means you had the courage to open your heart. It means you were brave enough to risk love, to believe in the goodness of another person. And that is nothing to be ashamed of. The world will tell you to harden, to close off, to never trust again. But here's the deeper truth. The strength is not in the hardening. The strength is in healing, in choosing to rebuild trust slowly, carefully, with others, yes, but first and foremost, with yourself. When someone uses your softness against you, it doesn't define you. It defines them. Your capacity to love, to trust, to offer grace, that is your superpower. And no one can take that from you unless you let them. So if you're carrying the weight of betrayal right now, let me remind you, you are not broken, you are not to blame, and you are not alone. This is a war many women fight, but you will rise not in spite of your wounds, but because of them. Because a woman who has been betrayed and chooses to love again, that is a woman of unimaginable strength. There was a season in my life when I became an expert at wearing masks. I smiled at the right moments, nodded along in conversations, laughed at the appropriate times. I showed up at work, at family dinners, at gatherings, and on the surface, everything looked fine. People would say things like, "You're so strong. You're so resilient. You've got it all together." And I'd smile back, but inside I was screaming because no one really knew what I was carrying. No one saw the sleepless nights where I lay staring at the ceiling, trying to quiet the anxiety that felt like it might suffocate me. No one saw how I'd lock myself in the bathroom just to cry for 5 stolen minutes before pulling myself together again. No one knew the weight I carried on my chest, the invisible heaviness that made it hard to breathe, hard to hope, hard to even want to get out of bed some mornings. This is what I call the silent war. The battle so many women fight every single day while the world looks on and praises our strength, never realizing the price we're paying for that illusion. It's the kind of war where you become so good at pretending even you start to forget that you're allowed to fall apart. And why do we do it? Psychology gives us a clue. We're conditioned, especially as women, to believe that our worth is tied to how much we can endure without complaint. That asking for help makes us a burden, that admitting we're struggling makes us weak. And so we keep going. We carry the emotional labor, the worry for everyone else, the invisible tasks, the hidden heartbreaks. And in doing so, we silence our own needs. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Silence doesn't protect us, it isolates us. The more we hide our pain, the more alone we feel in it. The more we pretend we're fine, the more we convince ourselves that no one would understand if we told the truth. And that isolation, it's as dangerous as the battles themselves. I want you to know, if you're fighting this silent war, you are not weak because you're tired. You are not failing because you're overwhelmed. You are not unworthy because you're struggling to hold it all together. Strength isn't about pretending you have no needs. Strength is having the courage to say, I can't do this alone anymore. It's whispering, even if your voice shakes, I need help. Because the silent war loses its power the moment you let someone in. The moment you allow yourself to be seen, not as perfect, not as unbreakable, but as human. And oh, my friend, there is so much beauty, so much healing in that kind of honesty. If no one has told you this before, let me be the one. You do not have to carry it all by yourself. You deserve support. You deserve rest. You deserve to lay your weapons down and let someone else help hold the weight. That is not weakness. That is the bravest thing you'll ever do. There came a day when I stood in front of the mirror, puffy-eyed, hollow, exhausted from nights of crying myself to sleep, and I realized something that shook me to my core. No one was coming to save me. No one was going to swoop in and lift me out of my pain, patch up my brokenness, or fill the emptiness I felt inside. I had spent so long waiting for an apology that never came, waiting for someone to notice I was drowning, waiting for the world to make it right. But that day, staring into my own eyes, I understood if I didn't choose myself, no one else would. And let me tell you, that moment doesn't come with trumpets or fanfare. It comes quietly in the stillness, when you're tired of your own suffering. It comes when you're so weary of breaking your own heart by waiting for someone else to fix it. It comes when you stop looking outward for permission to rise and you realize you've had the power all along. You just didn't believe you deserved to use it. Choosing yourself isn't easy. It's terrifying because it means taking responsibility for your healing, for your joy, for your peace. It means acknowledging that while you may not be to blame for what broke you, you are the only one who can put the pieces back together. And that's a heavy truth to hold. Neuroscience tells us that resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. Every time you decide to get out of bed when you want to give up. Every time you choose to speak kindness to yourself when the old voices of shame try to creep back in. Every time you set a boundary that protects your heart. That's how we build the muscle of resilience. The rise doesn't happen all at once. It's not a grand cinematic moment where suddenly everything is better. It's quiet, it's messy, it's small acts of self-compassion repeated over and over, even when you don't feel strong. It's reaching for hope, even when your hands are shaking. And here's the soul truth I want you to hear. You don't rise because you're unbreakable. You rise because you are willing to rebuild yourself, piece by piece, from the wreckage. Love yourself so that you can love yourself more. So that someday you will rise because you are unbreakable. You rise because you are willing to rebuild yourself. Piece by piece from the wreckage, you rise. Because deep down, despite the hurt, despite the failures, despite the betrayals, you know you are worth the effort. There is no rescue coming, but there is redemption. And it starts the moment you look at yourself not as broken beyond repair, but as worthy of love, worthy of healing, worthy of the life you're dreaming of. That is the moment you choose yourself. And that is the moment everything begins to change. There is a battle that no one sees. I remember a time when I told myself, never again. Never again would I trust so easily. Never again would I let someone see my soft places. Never again would I offer love without making sure I'd get it back. And honestly, that felt safe. It felt like armor. But here's the thing about armor. It keeps out the hurt, yes, but it also keeps out the joy, the connection, the very things our souls were made for. After you've been wounded, it's so tempting to harden, to convince yourself that hope is dangerous, that vulnerability is a liability, that tenderness is weakness. But that's not strength. That's survival mode. And survival mode will keep you alive, but it won't let you live. Psychology shows us something powerful here. When we shut ourselves down emotionally to avoid future pain, we also shut ourselves off from the things that make life meaningful. We numb not just the sorrow, but the joy, not just the fear, but the love. And over time, that numbness becomes its own kind of suffering. So the real battle, the one that makes you a warrior, is the fight to stay open. The decision, again and again, to choose love over fear. To risk being hurt because the alternative is a life lived behind walls so high that nothing can get in. Not the pain, but not the beauty either. And let's be honest, staying open doesn't mean you won't get hurt again. You probably will. But what's the alternative? A heart encased in armor so thick that even you can't feel it beating anymore? The bravest women I know aren't the ones who have never been hurt. They're the ones who have been shattered and still choose softness. They still dare to hope, still dare to trust, still dare to love. Not because they're naive, but because they know that love, in all its messy, risky, glorious vulnerability, is worth the battle. So if you find yourself standing at that crossroads, wondering whether to close your heart to protect it or keep it open to heal it, let me tell you this. The real victory isn't in never falling. It's in rising and saying, I will not let the world harden me. That choice to stay open after the battle, that's what makes you a true warrior. That's the courage that changes everything. And that's where healing begins. So to every woman who feels weary, who feels invisible in her fight, you are a woman of war. And you were born for the battle. Don't you ever forget it.